What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's gonna be a quick video today. I'm just gonna go for a POV drive in my buddy Jerry's R34 Skyline GTT. It looks like a GTR. He's done the front end conversion, or most of it. We're gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna do a quick walk around, quick drive, and show you guys what's up. The R34s, of course, if you guys are down in the States, most of you who watch the channel are, the cars are flooding in. The early 98 cars are flooding in, and then of course the 99 to 02 GTRs are coming soon. Some of you guys already have them under show and display or some other sketchy scenario, but let's get into it and go for a drive. Hopefully it starts. Yes, we have life. But wait a second, what if you're in the middle of nowhere, no service, and you're not so lucky, your Skyline doesn't start, and you're forced to walk to the nearest coffee shop to borrow their Wi-Fi in order to call for help from one of your, let's say, more mechanically responsible friends. But hold up, there's something massively wrong with this scenario, and my advice would be to never jump on some strange Wi-Fi without first downloading Surfshark VPN. With my code Untraveled, you'll receive an additional 3 months free with your subscription. On a public Wi-Fi like that, Surfshark encrypts your internet activity so that no one can attempt to track or steal any personal data you may have in your accounts or even actual files on your device. And even worse, while you're waiting for your tow truck and you try and hop on Netflix, you realize your favorite Japanese anime isn't actually available in the location where you're stuck. Surfshark makes it easy to connect to your home network and your home location so that you can continue watching your favorite shows wherever you're stuck. And of course, you're free to explore any other strange shows that you might want from the UK, Australia, or pretty much anywhere around the world. On top of that, one of my favorite features I'd use once I got home with Surfshark is to try and find future flights at the best possible rate while avoiding getting swindled or cornered by the specific device or location that the travel site was catering to. A much more reliable way to travel than a 30-year-old Nissan. Surfshark is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's virtually no risk in signing up when you use the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. And again, if you use my code Untraveled, you're able to get an additional 3 months free when you sign up for Surfshark. I highly recommend it. Thanks, guys. Now back to the Skyline. R34 GTT, right quick, freshly repainted. So this is Midnight Purple 2. Midnight Purples, I'm not completely familiar. Like, I haven't set 3 cars side by side directly and really compared, but Midnight Purple 2 is definitely a little bit more colorful. It's way more saturated than the original, like on the R33s, and then 3 is just even further still. But right here, actually, you can see when the sun hits it, it has a bit of kind of gold, orangey gold. I'm slightly colorblind, so take my word with a grain of salt. Wait for this plane to go overhead. But it's a great color. As you can see here, we've got Z-Tune carbon fenders. This is not an authentic kit. And as you can see, the fitment looks pretty good. I mean, here, let's just start on the hood. The panel gap's fairly consistent from the top to the bottom. The headlights here, of course, the GTTs, you could option them with the xenon headlights, which are indeed the same as you get with the GTR. And then the bottom here, the Z-Tune bumper, looks a little bit different than the factory GTR bumper, of course. And Jerry, what are you doing? This is where we get to the point of imposter syndrome here with the R34 badge. It's not a GTR. Why would you put a GTR badge? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I personally would never put a GTR badge on a non-GTR vehicle, but that's just me. It looks killer though. That's the thing. It's kind of a conflicting scenario because it looks phenomenal. These wheels right out the gate. I love a 5-spoke step lip wheel. Jerry took these wheels straight off his R32 GTR, which is currently restoring. Tons of rust in that car. None that I could see in this one, but it's a 275 square setup. Why don't we pop the hood? Let's pop the hood. We can see here, I wish I could get Jerry on camera in this video because he would then talk about how he did this front end and why there's a little bit of a gap here. And that has to do with a red R34 GTR left-hand drive car that you guys may remember that we found a few years ago now. It's been a long time. Jerry ended up buying that car. Red car, left-hand drive, converted sometime years ago in the UAE, and he ended up buying that car. He took the front end off that car, which was made to fit a Z-Tune replica kit, the same kit but not carbon fiber, and the previous owner apparently had modified the top of the rad support. So I'm not sure if we can see that here when we pop the hood. But yeah, basically this rad support, or sorry, this support here, not the rad support, whatever this is called up here, the grill. As you guys can see, this is all red. So the front end is off of that R34 GTR. He took the entire front end so we could fit this Z-Tune kit, but this piece is not factory. Like, it's been kind of molded and bent a little bit to fit this kit specifically on that car, and then he put it on this car and it just doesn't work quite to the spec you would have hoped. But got a big rad, and then of course, yeah, RB25 Neo VCT, as all Neos have, just on the intake side, of course, variable cam timing. Everything's factory. When we get in, you'll hear the intake. It's very loud, but other than that, it is stock. It appears 100% stock, actually, except for the rad and the intake, just upon first glance here. It even has the original Japanese-sized battery, which is hilarious. Actually, I'm really hoping it starts, because it did not start this morning, and I had to boost it. Let's come around back real quick before we go for a drive. Obviously, GTR replica wing. This is a raised wing. Yeah, I think those risers are a little bit taller than what would be factory. He has not gone ahead and put the GTR badge on the back. You'll also notice it doesn't have the the brake light up here. And then of course, a Kakimoto exhaust. Yeah, just a clean car that's unfinished. When you look at a GTT versus a GTR, you might not initially realize how much wider the GTR is, because they kind of blend it in very subtly, especially in the rear. But then when you see one side by side, it is night and day. The GTR body is much wider than the GTT. Like, do you guys want to hear my thoughts on the GTR conversion? I just feel if you have a GTT and that's your goal, to make it look ultimately like a GTR, first you need to go all the way, which Jerry has not. I believe Jerry's actually selling this car shortly, so that's probably why. And also some of the front body parts just were not in the greatest condition. I think that's one of the main reasons why he took all the body parts off. He still has all the original stuff, but it just screams like, I don't as bluntly as I could put it, I don't have the cash to buy a GTR. That's what it screams to me. And if you do that, that's fine. What you don't get with the GTR is a sunroof. I've seen some builds that are incredible. GTT RB26 rear wheel drive with the GTR kit, that's cool. Because then effectively what you've created is a rear wheel drive GTR, which is so cool to me. And that's why a lot of people like the GTTs, because they are a couple $100 lighter, a lot cheaper, so much cheaper. Although, God, they are getting expensive. And I mean, are they even worth it? But let's get into it. Hopefully it starts. Yes, we have life. You can hear it idle. these cars in general, they get deteriorated over time. This is a 20-year-old car. It's not that old, but you know, it still has modern stuff. The GTTs had traction control. Not sure if it was an option, but mine does. And stuff like that. But at the same time, all of these materials, most of them do not hold up. The dashes do. The dashes are kind of a pseudo soft touch plastic, which is nice. Of course, triple gauge pods in the center here, boost, oil temp, and battery voltage, and then oil pressure, just like the GTRs in the gauge cluster. Fun fact, if you don't know, the tach and the speedo are swapped in the GTR to GTT, so that's one difference. Then of course, if you go like Nismo or whatever, you get a speedo that actually goes above 180 kilometers an hour, which, depending on where you live, might be useful. Good old Nismo shifter there. Good torque. Of course, the Neos do have, like I mentioned, VCT, so the main advantage of the Neo over, I don't know, an S2 R33 RB25, one of the later GTST engines, or even an RB26 in factory form to a certain extent, is that you have a bunch of low down torque with the Neo just because of that cam timing change. Exhaust is droney, but it's nice. It's got a good throaty sound to it. Definitely droney though. I'm not exactly sure what the cat or resonator situation here is going on. I'm pretty sure it's just a cat back. But while we're behind this traffic real quick, R34 values, that's something that's on the mind of a lot of Americans, especially because these cars are coming into the market very fast and people are speculating. Of course, the values are going up right now. The trend is up, but as supply increases, you'd think demand would go down slightly. So where is that like peak? Where's that peak? Where's that threshold? And then where does it kind of level off to where they're accessible again? Like R32 GTRs right now, very accessible. That's like a $40,000 to $60,000 car. I mean, they vary so wildly just based on condition, year, modifications, history, rust, you know, all that fun stuff. Original paint, original options, etc. But these R34 GTTs, I don't know where the ceiling is. I don't think anybody really does right now, right? A couple years ago, you could get a manual car still for about $25,000, $30,000 on the high end for like a really nice one. Now this is higher mileage, 223,000 kilometers. It's about the same as mine. And you're looking at, for a coupe like this, a manual coupe, well over $40,000. People are asking upwards of $70,000, $80,000. Keyword there, asking, right? Unless it's on an auction site, we don't know what these cars are going for. We don't even know if they're selling. And chances are, if you're listing an R34 GTT coupe in North America for $80,000 today in early '98, you're not getting that. Now, I could be wrong. Please, somebody send me an auction or proof that a transaction has taken place of an $80,000 GTT coupe factory manual. I just don't think it's happening yet. I would not pay $80,000 for this car. This is not an $80,000 experience to me. And I've said this about the R34 GTR. I think that's $100,000 to $120,000 driving experience, nothing more. I don't think like, I would not pay, even if I had the money, $250,000 for one of those cars. It's just there are so many other cars for that money. I mean, I would personally probably rather have a 997 GT3 RS if I was paying $250,000 US. That's just me though. That's the logical side of me. The kid inside of me would go GTR 10 times out of 10. just such a good car too. Loads up the rear end, powers out beautifully. Oh, a little bit of rubbing. Jerry did warn me about that. Sorry, bud. Not gonna be hucking it into corners like I thought I was going to. So much fun though, just good torque. They're not crazy fast out of the box, but neither is an R34 GTR, right? They're just so agile, so ahead of their time. There is not another 90s car that feels like a Skyline, not that I've driven. I even drove an F355, in fact, on this same road, in another mid-90s car. Well, these are late 90s, I guess, but another 90s car that cost way more at the time. Of course, the infamous Fast and Furious scene, but that car feels archaic compared to this. Absolutely archaic. Now, the one I drove was an automatic. Maybe that, well, it definitely did have something to do with it. But just any Skyline, turbo Skyline of this era feels so precise in the steering, in the way you can feel the rear end progressively get sideways. And yeah, the 25 transmission doesn't feel the greatest. There's a little bit of, shall we say, elasticity to the shift. It's still good. It's still really good. With a couple small tweaks, these cars can just become monsters. And of course, the Neo RB25, you can really push the engine to get a lot of power out of them. I've driven multiple 500 wheel horsepower RB25s, and I think that's a great number for a rear wheel drive street build R34 GTT. That's it, you guys. We're gonna end it here behind this truck. This has been Jerry's R34 GTT. So much fun. Couple little tweaks here and there. This thing's got potential. I'm gonna have to check what suspension this has on it, but even still, a factory R34, like compared to a modern car I just got out of the new Integra Type S, a stock GTT feels like that car in sport mode. So like the middle suspension setting. It's a softer car than you would think. You think of a Skyline as an aggressive sports car from the 90s, and yeah, it is, but it was a sedan too. It was supposed to be an incredibly daily drivable car. And as such, yeah, they're a little bit soft, and they've aged a little bit in that regard. You get in the Type S, stick it in Sport Plus, that is a stiff car. That's a bumpy car, and that's even softer than the Type R. So that kind of gives you a gauge of how the ride quality is. They are incredibly comfortable out of the box. You could do sway bars if you want to delete Hikis, and you're pretty much good to go. Anyways, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram at Roads Untraveled. You can find Jerry on Instagram and their shop, Sideways Autosport, of course. We'll see you next time. Once again, you guys, if you haven't already, our code Untraveled for Surfshark VPN is in the description below. That gets you an additional 3 free months when you sign up. Thanks for watching.